They say love can burn you alive. In my case, it almost did literally. I used to believe that loving someone with your whole heart would save you. I was wrong. Because on the night of my 20th birthday, while everyone toasted champagne and whispered how lucky I was to have Brandon Miller by my side, I knew the truth. He was already planning to leave me. Again. My name is Aubrey Whitmore, heiress to one of the largest private family fortunes in Northern California, daughter of billionaires, and for the longest time, hopelessly, painfully in love with the boy next door. Brandon. Our families had known each other for decades. Our birthdays were always celebrated together, our summers spent in each other's backyards, and everyone just assumed that one day we'd get married. It was a sweet fantasy. And for most of my teenage life, I believed in it. Until last year. Until the fire. The ballroom of the Fairmont Hotel glittered with golden lights that night. My parents had spared no expense for my birthday live jazz band, fresh peonies on every table, and a customized champagne tower. I wore emerald green silk and a 15-inch pair of stilettos that made me glide like royalty across the marble floor. Brandon stood beside me, dashing in a tailored Armani suit. Anyone watching would assumed we were the perfect couple. Anyone except me. Because while the guests laughed and sipped, Brandon kept checking his phone. His eyes flicked toward the exit like he was waiting for someone. I already knew who. Sierra Collins. She wasn't from our world. A scholarship student from a rundown district in Houston, she had the kind of sob story that made people feel charitable deadbeat parents, straight-A student, working 2 jobs. To someone like Brandon, she was the perfect mix of helpless and humble. To me, she was a parasite. And yet, I had watched him fall for her. Slowly at first, he began tutoring her, then paying for her classes. Then one night, he didn't come to my birthday party at all. That was the night I died. In the fire. Back then, I had followed him. I just wanted to talk to understand. But when I arrived at her apartment, it was already ablaze. I pulled him out from the living room, dragging his unconscious body through the smoke. A support beam crashed onto my legs. My face caught the worst of the flames. I survived, barely. But my face, once considered one of the most beautiful in the California social scene, was gone. When he woke up, I thought he'd thank me. Instead, he accused me. "You started that fire," he whispered hoarsely, "because you couldn't stand seeing me with her. The media loved it. Rich girl loses beauty, goes crazy over unrequited love, tries to kill romantic rivals. It was the perfect tabloid tragedy. I was hounded day and night, both online and in public. My parents flew me out to Switzerland for surgeries that couldn't fix my face or the ache in my chest. Eventually, I gave up. I jumped into the ocean from the cliff behind our vineyard estate, and somehow I woke up again. Right here in the same ballroom, same dress, same Brandon, same lies, only this time I wouldn't save him. "Aubrey," Brandon stammered, catching himself from using my childhood nickname, "want to get some fresh air. The moon looks beautiful tonight." I smiled politely. "Of course." My mother waved us off happily. "Don't stay out too late, sweetheart. We're cutting the cake in half an hour." Brandon grabbed my hand and led me toward the private parking lot. I staggered slightly, these heels were hell, but I didn't care. The blood in my veins felt colder now. "Focused," he dialed her. "Sierra?" His voice turned soft. "I just left the party. Did you get the flowers? I swear I'll be there soon. I got you something. I can't wait to see your face." The irony, I didn't say a word, just listened like I did in the past life. Only this time I didn't feel pain, only a strange sense of anticipation. He turned to me. "I'm sorry, Aubrey. I know it's your birthday and all, but she's alone. I have to be there." I tilted my head, smiled. "She really needs you. Go." Brandon blinked. "Wait, you're okay with this?" "Of course," I said sweetly. "Wish her a happy birthday for me." He looked confused, hesitant, suspicious even. "You're not going to tell my mom, are you?" I laughed. "Why would I do that? You've made your choice. I'm just finally seeing things clearly." He nodded, unsure. Then ran off into the night like a man chasing a dream that wasn't his. I stood alone in the driveway, staring at the full moon. It was the same moon as before. But this time, I wasn't watching it from a hospital bed, wrapped in gauze and betrayal. This time, I was the one in control, and when the fire started again, I didn't call 911. Not until the blaze had already swallowed the windows. They both survived, but barely. And this time, I wasn't the one who got burned. The call to 911 had been perfectly timed, just late enough to let the flames do their work, but early enough to save their lives. By sunrise, Sierra Collins had been rushed to a burn center, her once soft, doe-eyed beauty mangled beyond recognition. Brandon Miller was wheeled in on a stretcher, both legs crushed beneath fallen beams, screaming in agony. In my past life, I had been the one carried out, unconscious, with degree burns on my face. I remembered the pity in everyone's eyes, the whispers about vanity, karma, madness. How poetic, they had said, for a pretty girl to lose her face chasing love. Now it was their turn. By noon, the headlines were everywhere. Tech heir injured in tragic fire, young couple in critical condition, beauty and brains, the rise and fall of Sierra Collins. My family's name wasn't in a single article. Not one, because I wasn't involved this time. At least, not officially. That afternoon, my phone buzzed with a call from Madeline Miller, Brandon's mother. Her voice trembled through the line. "Aubrey, sweetheart, I don't know if you've heard. Brandon, he was in a terrible accident. The house, it burned. And Sierra, oh God, she's barely recognizable. They say it was a candle, or maybe one of those oil diffusers, who knows?" I said nothing. She continued, her tone quickly shifting from maternal panic to soft negotiation. "I know tonight didn't go the way we planned, but your birthday party was just beautiful. You were glowing, darling. The way you carried yourself, well, the board at Miller Industries was very impressed." There it was, the pivot. "I was hoping," she added delicately, "you'd consider visiting Brandon. He's asking for you." "Liar, he was hoping," she clarified too quickly, "that maybe this could be a reset for all of us." By the time I arrived at the hospital, the media had cleared. Miller family security had blocked off the entire wing. Madeline greeted me at the elevator with a hug and a guilty smile. "We've set aside a few things for you. It's just small gestures, tokens of appreciation." She handed me a folder. Inside, the deed to one of their lakefront estates in Colorado and a diamond bracelet I recognized as a family heirloom. "This is too much," I said smoothly, slipping the folder into my purse. No, not at all. You've always been like family, and we'd like you to stay that way." Brandon was asleep when I walked in. His legs were in casts. His face was pale and drawn, his mouth twisted in pain even in rest. Sierra lay 2 rooms down the hall, in a sealed burn recovery chamber. In another timeline, this would be the moment I broke down. But not this time. This time, I turned to the nurse and said, "Tell him I stopped by, that I'm praying for him." Then I left. Back in my suite at the peninsula, I poured a glass of white wine and stood at the balcony, staring down at the city like it was mine. And in a way it was. I had been underestimated my whole life. Too sweet, too quiet, too privileged to ever be serious. But they forgot something critical. I remember everything. Every cruel word Sierra whispered behind my back. Every moment Brandon smiled at her while pretending to still love me. Every apology that meant nothing. I was done being the victim. By the end of the week, I had sold the Colorado estate for $12. $6 million. I funneled the money into a shell corporation, which I used to purchase shares in 2 rival tech startups that were slowly eating into Miller Industries' market share. At the same time, I contacted a boutique PR firm, one specializing in reputation realignments. My request was simple. I want Sierra's image turned inside out. Quietly, tastefully, start with rumors, unverified whispers, anonymous forums, then escalate. They knew what to do. By Friday, Twitter was flooded with old high school classmates sharing strange memories about Sierra's manipulative habits. One blog accused her of stealing internship opportunities from disabled students. Another suggested she had blackmailed professors for grades. None of it was proven. None of it needed to be. Madeline called again, this time with a tinge of panic. "Aubrey, darling, I don't know what's happening, but Sierra's past is catching up fast. Brandon is struggling. He thinks the world's turning on him." I smiled into the receiver. "That's unfortunate." There was a pause. "He needs someone stable, someone the board still respects." And there it was, an invitation to return, to step back into the inner circle. Only this time on my terms. "I'll think about it," I said. "But I have conditions." The following morning, a delivery arrived at my door. A gift box wrapped in navy blue silk. Inside, a necklace with the Miller family crest, and a handwritten note from Madeline. "To the only woman we've ever truly trusted. The future is still yours, Aubrey. Please come home." I folded the note, slid it into my drawer, and closed it slowly. They wanted me back, but I never left. They just didn't realize I was already inside. A single rumor can ruin a life. I planned an avalanche. The media doesn't care about truth. They care about traction. About the story that sticks. And with Sierra lying in a hospital bed wrapped in gauze and delusion, she made the perfect subject. It started with a Reddit thread. Title: "Anyone else remember Sierra Collins from UT Austin? Something always felt off." The comments came quickly: fake humblebrag stories, tales of accidental sabotage, whispers about her faking a medical condition for test extensions. Some of them were true, most were not. It didn't matter. By the third day, her name was trending on Twitter under Collins Con. By the fifth, online sleuths dug up her charity internship in Belize, a front that never actually existed. Photoshopped pictures, donation scams, everything was questioned. The girl once paraded as a self-made survivor was now being picked apart like a cheap imitation of someone better. Better like me. While the internet played its part, I made my next move: control the narrative from the inside. I invited Madeline Miller to brunch at the Four Seasons. She arrived 10 minutes early, like always pearls, pink cashmere, and an expression tight with tension. I wore black. When the waiter asked if we'd like mimosas, I said yes. She said no, figures. "She's spiraling," Madeline muttered, stirring her tea. "The hospital called this morning. Sierra had a breakdown. Tried to scream through the oxygen mask. They had to sedate her." I tilted my head. "She's under a lot of pressure. She's dragging Brandon down with her. The board is nervous. We can't afford bad press, not now." I took a slow sip, letting silence do the talking. Then, softly, "I could help." Madeline looked up sharply. "But only if I'm inside the room again," I added. "Board meetings, real decisions. Not just birthday party invitations and family brunches." She blinked. That wasn't what she expected, but she should have. By Monday, I was reinstated as external strategic advisor to Miller Industries, with full access to market projections and internal memos. I wasn't just back in their circle. I was wearing the crown. Meanwhile, Sierra's burn wounds weren't healing well. Aesthetic surgery had failed to restore what she'd lost. The skin grafts were rejecting. Her face, once her ticket in, was now her prison. Her world was collapsing quietly. Mine was expanding quickly. But I wasn't done. There was one more card I needed to play: the betrayal card. With the help of my PR team, I had acquired a private photo. A grainy still from a hospital security feed. Sierra holding hands with Dr. Landon Park, her attending plastic surgeon. Nothing scandalous, but intimate enough to stir questions. We fed it to an anonymous gossip page. Caption: "Burned beauty finds love again. Sources say Dr. P and his VIP patient may be more than just clinical." It exploded. That same evening, Brandon tried to call me. 3 times, I didn't answer. He texted instead, "Aubrey, we need to talk. Everything's falling apart." Yes, Brandon, that's the point. The next day, I sent him a gift, not flowers, not sympathy, a flash drive. Inside, high-definition footage of Sierra and Dr. Park kissing in a secluded hallway recorded a week before her final surgery. The video was watermarked. Anonymous, of course, but Brandon would know who it came from. He always knew. That night, he checked out of the rehab center early. At 2:13 a.m., he wheeled himself into Sierra's recovery suite and found her laughing, actually laughing, while texting Dr. Park, What happened next would be leaked later by a night nurse, screaming, a glass vase thrown, a slap, and then silence. The following morning, Brandon Miller was trending, not for a new product, not for innovation, but for a violent altercation with a woman who was, just months ago, called America's sweetheart. Public opinion flipped. Fast. I watched it all unfold from my penthouse suite, legs crossed, espresso in hand. The press called it a tragedy. I called it justice. You never know what you've lost until it's wearing heels and owns your father's company. It took exactly 12 days for Brandon to show up in my world again. He waited in the parking garage beneath Whitmore Tower, just him, his wheelchair, and a paper cup of gas station coffee. He looked smaller, not just physically. Something inside him had caved in. I stepped out of my black Range Rover wearing a camel coat and leather gloves. My assistant trailed behind me, listing appointments for the morning, but stopped mid-sentence when she saw him. I didn't flinch, just walked past him. But he wheeled forward, desperate. "Aubrey, please, I need to talk." I kept walking. "You owe me that much," he added. I stopped, turned slowly. "I owe you." My voice sliced through the silence like a scalpel. He winced. "That's not what I meant." I dismissed my assistant with a nod. She gave me a quick glance, one that said, "You sure you want to do this?" and left. We stood, or rather, I stood across from the man who once claimed I wasn't worth loving. "I know what you've heard," Brandon began, rubbing his hands together. "But the video, it was a mistake. She said it meant nothing." "Ah," I nodded. The classic "it didn't mean anything" defense. She was lonely. I wasn't there for her. And with the surgeries. I raised an eyebrow. "You mean the surgeries you funded, the ones she got to fix a face you ruined?" He shut up. "Brandon," I said coolly, "what do you want from me?" His jaw clenched. "I don't know, clarity. Closure, maybe, a second chance." I laughed so hard it echoed across the concrete walls. "A second chance?" I repeated. "That's rich. You don't understand. Sierra lied to me. About everything." "And what did I lie about?" I asked. He opened his mouth, closed it again. "Exactly. Do you remember what you told me in the hospital?" I asked. He looked down. "I do," I continued. "You said I started the fire. You said I was trying to trap you." "That wasn't," he whispered. "I didn't mean it." "But you said it." I pulled something from my purse and handed it to him, a glossy printout. It was a still frame from a private camera I'd installed near Sierra's apartment after my rebirth. It showed her leaving that night with the oil diffuser still burning and carrying a canister of alcohol wipes. Open. It was enough for any forensic team to suggest negligence, if not intent. "I didn't set that fire, Brandon," I said softly. "But I watched it this time. I watched it consume the both of you, and I let it." He looked up at me, stricken. Tears welled in his eyes. I felt nothing. "She used me," he said hoarsely. "She did. She ruined me. She did." He leaned forward. "And you planned this, didn't you?" I smiled. "I didn't plan the fire," I said, brushing invisible dust off my sleeve. "But I planned everything after." He didn't say anything for a long time, just sat there in that sterile, echoing garage, breathing heavily like someone learning oxygen all over again. "I want to fix this," he finally said. I tilted my head. "You can't. But you can leave. I still love you, Aubrey." I stepped closer, just enough for him to smell the perfume he once bought me on a long-forgotten Valentine's Day. I leaned in, close to his ear, and whispered, "I don't." Then I walked away, not because it was dramatic, but because it was final. By nightfall, I received a message from Madeline Miller. "We need to talk. It's urgent." I ignored it. I had a board meeting with my company, the one I built, the one Brandon would have inherited if he hadn't tried to turn me into ashes. Let him sit in his wheelchair and drown in what-ifs. Let him realize that the girl he once dismissed now runs the world he's no longer invited to. Revenge isn't loud. It's silent signatures and closed-door deals. In business, the sharpest knife is a pen, and I had just signed my blade into motion. Monday morning, I walked into the Miller Industries boardroom wearing a fitted black pantsuit and heels that echoed like gavel strikes against the marble floor. 12 men in their 60s turned their heads. 3 women glanced up from their iPads. No one spoke. They didn't need to. My presence said enough. A week ago, they had dismissed me as a sentimental remnant of the past Brandon's ex, the heiress who vanished after the fire. Now I was back, but this time I didn't need Brandon's name. I had my own, and I had the numbers to back it. Shall we begin? I said smoothly, placing a portfolio down on the table. Page 1 Miller Industries, Q4 projections. The head of finance, a balding man named Lester, cleared his throat. Ms. Whitmore, perhaps it would be best if we waited for Mrs. Miller to. She's not coming, I interrupted. She's preparing a public apology for the PR disaster your darling son caused. Don't worry, she'll read whatever I write. Silence, then I clicked the remote, a screen lowered, slides projected, revenue charts, consumer sentiment analysis, losses due to scandal, competitor growth. Then, finally, projected turnaround plan, the Whitmore strategy. Every eye was on me now. I could see it in their posture, the subtle shift from resistance to reluctant curiosity. I took my time, pausing between points. Confidence is best served slowly. I outlined a full restructuring of Miller Industries, exit from underperforming subsidiaries, redirection of capital into green tech and e-commerce, merger talks with one of my shell companies, soon to be revealed as a Whitmore asset, rebranding with a new spokesperson. Me. At the end of the presentation, no one clapped, but no one argued either. That was all I needed. Lester finally spoke. You're proposing to take over completely. I'm not proposing, I said. I'm informing. A long pause. Then the oldest board member, Mr. Gaines, leaned forward. I knew your grandfather, he said quietly. He was ruthless, brilliant, unapologetic. I smiled. I take after him. He nodded. We'll vote, but I don't think we need to. The vote was unanimous, 12-0. Whitmore Holdings was now the majority stakeholder in Miller Industries. I left the building that day not as an outsider seeking validation. I left as the woman holding the keys to an empire that had once thrown me into fire. Poetic, isn't it? That night, at my penthouse, champagne flowed like victory. My parents flew in from Napa Valley, both beaming. We always knew you had it in you, my father said, lifting his glass. Correction, I replied. You knew, I just hadn't shown the world yet. But not everyone was toasting. Brandon didn't show up. Instead, he sent me a text. I saw the news, so that's it then, you own us now. I didn't reply, I posted a photo instead. Me in the boardroom, one heel on a briefcase. The caption, built from ashes. Madeline Miller resigned the next day. The press spun it as a graceful exit, but those of us who knew better. She tried to play politics. I played checkmate. I had taken the company, the name, the power, but I wasn't done. Because while revenge in business is thrilling, personal revenge is still on the table. And Brandon, he hadn't suffered enough. Even when you rise, your past finds ways to haunt you. He started writing to me from prison. The first letter arrived in a plain white envelope. Slanted handwriting, no return address, but I recognized it instantly. Every curve of every letter used to be etched on birthday cards, Post-its on my locker, sweet notes folded in half. But this time, it wasn't love, it was desperation. Aubrey, I know you won't write back, but please, I need to explain. I see it all now. I was wrong. I was blind. You were the only person who ever truly loved me, and I destroyed you. I deserve everything I'm facing, but God, I wish I could go back. He ended it with, if you ever forgive me, just send me one word. Anything, I'll wait. He signed it Brandon, like he always did. I didn't reply. But I did send something else, a gift box. Inside was a leather journal, blank pages. On the first page, I'd written, "This is for all the apologies you'll never get to say. Use it well. You've got time." He sent more letters after that. Dozens, each one filled with guilt, regret, longing. He'd write about dreams he had of me, of our childhood summers, of nights under the stars, of what could have been. He asked about Sierra, whether she had recovered, whether she ever mentioned him. I never answered, because she was gone. Sierra Collins died 3 months after her final surgery. The doctor said it was a complication. The nurse said she gave up. I said it was inevitable. She left behind nothing but a box of expired medications and a burned-out phone. There was no funeral, no obituary. No one claimed the body except the nursing home's legal department. They called me as the emergency contact, a cruel joke I myself had written into her file. I sent a 2-word reply: cremate anonymously. I spread her ashes off the side of a highway near Galveston, the same road where Brandon had once sworn he'd never let anyone hurt me. Poetic, isn't it? I didn't cry, but I did close my eyes and whisper something before I dropped the urn. Rest in pieces. Brandon, of course, didn't take the news well. I hadn't told him. Let him imagine she was still alive somewhere, healing, waiting. He'd ask in every letter, "Is she okay? Have you seen her? Does she ask about me?" So I sent him one final envelope. Inside, a photograph of Sierra's urn. Unmarked, no flowers, just a cold slab of cement and a number stamped on the tag. I didn't add a note. He'd understand. That week, I received no letter. Then another. Silence. Finally, the prison warden contacted me. Brandon had stopped eating, barely speaking. They were monitoring him for self-harm. "He keeps asking for you," the warden said. "He says you're the only person left." I said, "He's right." Then I hung up. It's funny, really. All those years I spent chasing his love. Now he would spend his remaining years chasing my silence. And me, I had businesses to run, stocks to manage, a keynote speech to deliver in D.C., titled How to Survive a Public Burn and Build an Empire. They asked me afterward if it was a metaphor. I smiled. No, it's very literal. People call me ruthless now. I prefer the term precise, because when I said I was done being the victim, I meant it. And if I had to walk through fire to become the woman I am now, then so be it. They tried to ruin me. Now I run everything they once owned. The day my company went public, I didn't cry. People expect you to cry during milestones like that. A tear at the podium. A voice crack during the bell. That's what they expect from a woman with a tragic past vulnerability wrapped in pearls. But I didn't give them that. I gave them steel and silk. I stood at the New York Stock Exchange, my initials glittering across a 10-story screen. Ah Holdings. A name they once mocked for being just a socialite brand, now opened at $19.4 billion valuation before noon. Reporters swarmed the red carpet. Cameras flashed. Investors clinked champagne. And behind me, a digital ticker spun like a roulette wheel I had rigged. I raised my glass and smiled. "Cheers to survival," I said. But they didn't know, survival was just the prologue. The same day, I was invited to deliver the keynote at the Global Women in Leadership Summit in Washington, D.C. The topic: From Scandal to Sovereignty. How poetic. I took the stage in a tailored navy blazer. Hair swept back. No jewelry except the emerald ring my mother had given me on my 18th birthday the year Brandon first kissed me. He used to say it reminded him of how fierce I looked under sunlight. Now I wear it like a trophy. The crowd fell silent as I stepped up to the podium. I didn't open with thanks. I opened with truth. They told me my life was over when I lost my face. They told me no man would love me, no company would back me, no boardroom would take me seriously. What they didn't realize is that I didn't need love. I needed leverage. The room exploded. Women from every continent stood up, applauding, some with tears in their eyes. I didn't tear up. I smiled like a general inspecting a kingdom I had conquered one cold, calculated battle at a time. That night, Forbes featured me on the cover. Aubrey Whitmore, from burn victim to boardroom queen. A title I didn't ask for, but one I wore better than any tiara. Back at my penthouse, I poured myself a drink and sat by the fireplace. My phone buzzed. It was a message from the warden. Inmate 73,382, Brandon Miller, passed away in his sleep. Cause, cardiac arrest. No foul play suspected. There was no ceremony. No obituary, no family claims. His body was cremated, his ashes scattered in the state prison garden. I thought I'd feel something. Anger, relief, closure. But all I felt was done. The past had finally buried itself. And I had risen from its grave wearing a crown of my own making. No one gave it to me. I forged it, with fire, with scars, with silence. People call me heartless now. They don't know what it took to reclaim my heart from the people who crushed it. There's a new rule in the corporate world. Don't cross Aubrey Whitmore. Not unless you're ready to play a game you won't survive. He died in silence. I lived in triumph. Fair trade, don't you think? The letter arrived 2 days after the cremation. It was the last one Brandon ever wrote. Apparently, he'd finished it just hours before the heart attack. The guards found it on his desk, addressed to me. No return address. No dramatic signature. Just a trembling sentence on the envelope. If you ever read just one, make it this. I opened it on my rooftop terrace just after sunrise. The city below was glowing gold, full of noise and life and a future that belonged entirely to me. I read it once, then again, then slowly tore it into 6 perfect pieces and let the wind take them one by one. No tears, no music swelling in the background, no slow-motion flashbacks, just peace. He had written about regrets, of course. He always did. He talked about Sierra, about the fire, about how he saw my face in every dream, how he wished he had never spoken those words, how he thought maybe, if he hadn't doubted me, things would have been different. He asked for forgiveness. He begged for it, but he never once said he was sorry for not believing me. That mattered. You see, apologies are cheap, but belief, that's sacred. I stood there a while, watching the ashes of that final letter scatter over the skyline. Somewhere down there were people falling in love, losing it, burning up from it, and some of them like me were learning that love isn't always gentle. Sometimes it destroys you, but if you survive, you rebuild, not who you were, but someone they'll never be able to hurt again. I walked back inside. The walls of my penthouse were lined with